Hey everybody, we are out here. We promised we'd come out here to Lone Oak Methodist Church. Just down the road here is where we were at the Luthersville Methodist Church. These two churches are sister churches, which means that they share a preacher. And Mark is looking at this. There is a memorial marker here at the church, and it reads, when a new building was completed in 1939, the name of this church established in 1844. Wow. All right, so this church's congregation was established 30 some years before the Luthersville Methodist Church, and they're building a new building. Mark loves to check out new construction. In 1844, as Prospect Methodist Church was changed to Allen Lee Memorial Methodist Church to honor two of its illustrious members, Dr. Young J. Allen and Dr. J.W. Lee. Dr. Allen was born in Burke County, January of 1836, was reared by an aunt, Nancy Wooten Hutchins, near Lone Oak. In 1851, car going by, hold on. During a sermon by Reverend John W. Harborough, first Baptist pastor at the Old Prospect, Dr. Allen was deeply convicted of sin and the need of salvation that he jumped from the window and fled into the woods. Oh, how interesting is this? He was converted and in 1859 sailed to China as a missionary and a teacher. Bishop Warren A. Chandler, in his book, Young John Allen, The Man Who Seeded China, said, his great work opened the way for the gospel in China and made easier the task of every missionary in that vast empire. Dr. Allen died in 1907. Dr. James Wideman Lee, native of Lone Oak, was outstanding in North Georgia Methodist Conference. He later became a renowned minister in a leading church in St. Louis, Missouri, and was influenced in founding the Barnes Hospital there. His uncle William Owen Lee gave the land for this church. And this marker was commissioned in 1957. Mark, the guy whose the church is named after, he was listening to a sermon and he became so deeply moved by the Spirit of God that he jumped out of the window and ran into the woods asking forgiveness. And when he returned, he was converted. That's pretty cool. And I don't know what woods he ran into, but there's plenty around here. Back there, across the street. Down this way also, you'll remember we did the video on the Lone Oak Cemetery, which is separate from here, more like a city cemetery. I'll put a link to that in the description. And also remember, this is part of our playlist, graveyards and cemeteries. So let's head over to the graveyard because this property is indeed owned by the church. So let's get over here and see. Mark recognized a name, Collier. And if you remember, again, in the same playlist of graveyards and tombstones and graveyards and cemeteries, excuse me, we had the name Collier. And Hardy Collier was the sheriff here in Meriwether County during the time of the murder in Coweta County, stories of the 50s.
Because John Wallace had Sheriff Collier on his payroll, Wallace served minimal sentences for his numerous crimes, including the shooting of a man in the streets of Chipley, Georgia, simply for owing him money. It wasn't until after he committed a crime just over the county line in nearby Coweta County in the city of Moreland did John Walton Wallace finally pay for his crimes. Charles Hardy Collier, sheriff of Meriwether County, was generous with funds that he had acquired by turning a blind eye to the moonshiners like King of the County, John Wallace.
And Mark spotted the name. Let's see if we can see here. But we did find a stone in a neighboring county that Hardy Collier had actually placed the stone there, and we found out that was his father. Here is the Collier, Henry Baker Collier, World War II, September 1922 to 1983. So he did survive World War II. And see, Mark, there's lots of these veteran markers here. Calvin Hooper Breed, World War II. He survived that war. Vivian, wife of Calvin. She was also, like I said before, if you were the spouse of a military veteran, you also do get the privilege of having one of those markers placed by the federal government. Let's quickly go through here and see if we can find some names. Fowler, son, he was 19, Kevin Drew Fowler. There's a basketball on his stone. He must have enjoyed basketball. Dear young one. Mother and father, Fowler, Charles Edward Fowler, 1934 to 1981. Also a fairly young man when he passed. Not too long after the son, actually. Oh, this is interesting. Oh my, Mark. There's a story here. Must be. This is another son, and he died December 24th, 1981, just as his father died. Okay, now I'm really confused. This is Charles. Okay, 53 to 81, 34 to 81. They both passed away December 24th of 1981. So I'll do some research on there. Must have been some sort of an accident. Mark's thinking possibly a car accident. We would definitely be looking into that. However, they passed. That's very sad. The father is buried here with both of his sons. He and his son both passed away 2 years after the other son died. So we'll look into all these names. You know, this is what happens when you come out to the cemeteries. The stones tell a story.
Kevin was the son of Charles Edward Fowler and Loretta Fowler. Kevin and his friend had been to a basketball game in Atlanta and were coming home on Old Highway 54 in Morrow. It was nearly or just after midnight. Their truck went off an embankment and hit a tree. It hit the tree so hard that the motor was pushed all the way to the steering wheel. They were probably going too fast for the conditions. Kevin was driving and fell over the boy next to him. The boy was very seriously injured, and Kevin fell over him. Because of the serious injuries, both boys were unable to move, and the temperature was near or at freezing. The accident was not discovered until the next morning. Kevin had died. The other boy was rescued and taken to the hospital. Kevin's parents were in Las Vegas at the time and had to fly home knowing that their son had died in this wreck. He was just 19 years old and had graduated in June from high school. This was just the beginning of tragedies for the family. Ed and Eddie were killed just a year later in a robbery at the County Line liquor store in Luthersville. Ed, Eddie, and Loretta were all working late on Christmas Eve of 1981 at their little store in Luthersville. Several men pulled up in front, came in, and immediately pulled a shotgun, shooting Ed without provocation. Eddie was reaching for a gun from under the counter when they shot him. They also shot Ed's wife, Loretta. Ed and Eddie fell and were dead. Loretta fell onto Ed, playing dead. The men robbed the store in excess of $20,000 that night. Another man was driving. Eddie managed to get off several shots before he died and shot one of the men in the jaw. A piece of his tooth fell onto the floor of the store, and he was later found out in a hospital where he had gone for his injuries. But he had told a very different story.
Culpepers. Now, there's a lot of Culpepers in the Sonoy area. Cora and Warren, 1871 to 1945, 1866 to 1937.
Warren is pictured here with his family, including his father, James Daniel Culpepper, who was born in 1834 and passed in 1903. Cora Rosser Culpepper is pictured fourth from the left in this family portrait of the Culpepper family.
Culpepper is a very well-known name in this area. Mary C. Rosser. Here's a view. The church is building a new building. That's cool. That's good to see. Must mean that it does have, a pretty healthy congregation to be building a new structure like that. Here is a very fresh stone, so this is an active graveyard. 1940 to 2022, Irwin Lafayette Medford.
A tribute to Mr. Irwin can be found online. He loved to garden, and he worked at the Lone Oak Tree Farm for 40 years.
There are Willinghams. James Fred Willingham.
We looked for Martha's obituary but could not find it online. We did, however, find many, many Sewells who are clearly her descendants. She must have been one of the earliest settlers in Meriwether County, Georgia.
So if you remember our last video, we found a family that was related to our grandchildren's family. And, Dixon, Ruth, and Reverend Robert Dixon. And the other family is Barber, from Little Cohen, our little tour guide Cohen. And here are a lot of Barbers. So we will really look into this, whether they are related as well to her other grandmother, Teresa Barber. Rahan Revels Barber, 65. Mark Wells Barber, 63. There's some older stones here. This one, can't even read it. It's so worn. Can't tell what that says. Small stone, could be an infant. Wells Barber family. Sewell, Atticus Sewell, and Mattie Sewell. Let me get up there closer because Sewell's a name we do know from this area. There are other Sewells up here. Actually, quite a lot. Oh my, there are a lot of the Sewell family. Very many right here. Got some older stones sort of lining here. And look there, we've got a really old, let's go see that. That looks like a really old spot. Back of the church. a large obelisk here. E.M. Field. Oh, that's interesting. My mother's maiden name was Field. October 24th, 1857 to August 27th, 1910. E.M. Field. We'll do some research, see if we can find out what the E and the M stands for. And on the opposite side is Mrs. E.M. Field. October 10th, 1853, December 3rd, 1923. A lot of Sewells, Mark.
Yep.
It's a very prominent name here. And these are all entombed. Got these extra tombs. Chelsea Sewell. No. Oh, that's not right. Celestia. Chelsea. I can't even pronounce that. Celestia Sewell, wife of John Barrow. A lot of Sewells. Some older stones here. Let's go find and Lee Turner. Let's go see if we can find that really old rock stone formation thing there. That's probably likely some of the older graves. Another Turner. See what interesting people we can tell their stories from here. J.T. Cliett and Rebecca Justice, wife of J.T. Cliett.
Pictured here are J.T. and Rebecca with their children.
Coming up, there's a few, I believe these would be a few children's stones. Rupert C. Lee, March 11th, 1876 to March 5th, 1911. See if we can find out. Yes, this is a child. June of 1900. Son. An infant. We're going to work our way over. Lucy W. and William Lee. So we make our way over to the stone structure. There's some smaller graves here. At rest. Making our way over here. I'm seeing that beyond this wall are some more, so we'll get over there. Here are some Culpepers. And someone has come in and placed a newer stone. We've got Catherine Fling Culpepper, mother, I'm assuming. And this one is very hard to read, but we do have infant Jasper, July 28th, 1855 to August 31st, 1855. So here is the original stone. And here is a newly placed stone. That's a nice memorial the family has done. There's a lot of cool plants here. Infant of W.F. and F.L. Sewell. I believe there are several children right in here. You can see these are much smaller graves. And then we've got these cool that must go really far back. Look at the way these stones are stacked. We've seen these before in Georgia, where the rocks are just placed, no markers whatsoever. You can see that there was an old wall here, and that has become just part of the earth now. So let's go over here and see. There are a few markers or stones left in the ground here, but There is nothing to be read any longer on these stones. And then down here, we have another area. Oh, here's the Fling family. We just saw one with the name Fling. And here we have Mrs. W.M. Fling, 1851. Died 1905, wife of William Fling. W.N. looks like William Morgan, and he served in the Confederate Army.
William Morgan Fling's father, Daniel Webster Fling, is the original settler of what is now Lone Oak, Georgia, in Meriwether County. It was originally known as Fling's Crossing.
And he survived that battle up until 1906. Now, in 1906, they were reunioning over in Sonoy at what is now the Veranda Inn. The Confederate soldiers were reunioning there, and Margaret Mitchell came to interview them. I don't know if he was part of that or if he had passed away by then, but we do know that in Sonoy, the Confederate soldiers reunioned there. And we've got this other set of stones down the steps. I didn't want to walk these steps, but I'm going to try them. Remember, I just had surgery this last year, so steps are still a little tricky on me. There's another way around. I think there might be another way around. Let's go see if I can find a different way around. There's no handrails on those steps, so it makes it hard on me. Jacob Albright. Levy and Robert Wright. Hobson. Luna. Jesse Benjamin. And Luna Hobson. More steps, but maybe I can stand here. Got a few that are a little bit sunken in. Remember, we've talked about how they did not use vaults in those days. They just simply buried you oftentimes in just quite frankly, a wooden box. And so all of that would disintegrate into the ground. And you can see that there are some sunken in places where there are likely some of the older stones, older burials. And I think I can get down these steps because I can hang on here a little better. Use this tree here to hold on to and carefully get down these old steps. These plants, they drive me crazy. You have to cut them down all the time, but they do have pretty red berries. We have some in our backyard, but boy, do they grow fast. And then we got, must be a hickory. That is a hickory nut. So one of these is a hickory tree, because that's a hickory nut. But there's some other nuts right here as well.
Like me coming up.
Here comes a nut. Here's my big mark nut. But these are hickory nuts. And a bird's nest. I'm gonna come down here because, oh boy, there's a lot of nuts out here. Boy, I'm gonna find out if hickories are, I'm sure hickories are edible, come out and get some and roast them up. We've made it down here. This is the regular area up here behind the church. And then it's got this stone retention wall. And then we've got these graves. So I don't know whether these are newer or older or part of it, or whether this was maybe even a family plot and then the church was here. I don't know. I'm going to try to see. We may never know that mystery. Here is a grave where someone has come out and put quite a few little memorials. Got a wind chime here and some different little statues. Stanley, I'm just going to move this just for a minute to see if I can see the name. Stanley O, but I don't see a last name. Stanley O, October 15th, 1955 to 2003, and his wife Regina, who is still among the living. There's some trees down over here. We've had quite a few storms, got some trees coming down. Let's see. This one seems a little older. Someone's lined this simply with some pavers. Ricky Larry R. Brownlee, 1951 to 2007. Our beloved son, Noah Christian Brownlee, August 17th, 1998, went home. Okay, this is a sweet way to put this. Born August 17th, 1998, went home October 23rd, 1998. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord, Genesis 6:8. There's something in a circle. I don't know, maybe they had some sort of a bird bath or something here. We are right on the edge of the woods. Blankenship family. And I cannot read that phrase on there, but it is some sort of... This one has the veteran marker.
Another dead tree.
John Ray Blankenship, U.S. Army and Vietnam. Thank you for your service, sir. Carol Rebecca Blankenship. Yeah, these have got the markers that you would have in a cemetery to line people up. So I don't know the reason for the retention wall, why they're separated. I don't know that reason. Maybe simply things were washing in and it needed to be shored up. It could be something just as simple as that. Or this is a different whole area. Sanders, Joy Dow Sanders. William Kenneth Dow. Beloved family, Chris, Brandon, Ryan, Dylan, Drew, and Kendall. Oh, look at that, Mark. This is interesting stone. Tech, Georgia Tech, Atlanta Braves. Okay, I don't know what this is with the 7, so we'll have to look into that. And this looks like airline symbol.
Yep.
And as well as this one looks like Delta. So this guy could have been a pilot. William Kenneth Dow. We've got the Tech, Atlanta Braves. Those we recognize for sure. This, if you know what this is, I'm going to do some research. But if you know, did he play basketball and was he number 7? I don't know. Could be a basketball. I don't know. Doesn't really look like a basketball, but we'll figure out what that is. And then this symbol and this symbol. So Mark and I are guessing this guy was a pilot. Those both do look like some sort of airline symbols.
Did you recognize this symbol, which would have been Mickey Mantle's famous number 7, and the stripes would have been from the back of his Yankees uniform? Kenneth Dow indeed worked for both Eastern and Delta Airlines. He loved his grandkids and was known to watch them play ball. He enjoyed sports and rests in peace here in Lone Oak.
We'll check out this last one, and then we'll get home and start researching these names. Another Dow. July 31st, Lily's birthday. Dorothy Reed Dow, July 31st, 1933 to August 27th, 2016. And William David Dow.
Something digging around that headstone.
Yeah, something sure was. Some creature has, that's a creature, don't you think?
Yep.
Has come out here and been digging around.
Could have been an armadillo.
Could have been an armadillo. So again, we're out here at the church here, the Lone Oak Methodist Church. It's also called, okay, I'll have to look back at the thing. We'll go back up to the front. Allen, something Allen. And let's get up to the front and get a few videos of the church. Culpeper, John William, 1772 to 1855. They are buried in Randolph County. Nancy Gillespie, 1778 to 1848. So these must have been some of their early settling.
Reverend John and his wife Nancy's memorial marker is placed here in Lone Oak near his son George Washington Culpeper. Culpeper was actually present during the time that young John Allen leapt from the window and was converted to Christianity before going on to serve as a missionary in China. Young John Allen's father passed away November of 1835. Young John was born January 3rd of 1836. Just 12 days after the birth, his mother also passed away, leaving him orphaned. On her deathbed, his mother's last request was that her sister Nancy Hutchins raise young John. His father had left him a comfortable patrimony which was being managed by a guardian. Young John was 15 before he learned his true last name was Allen. As a missionary, Allen influenced many Chinese reformers, strongly advocating for educating women at a time when that was a very radical thing in the Confucian society.
Behind these windows is where the gentleman became so overwhelmed with the Holy Spirit that he jumped from one of the windows, went out into the woods, and came back and was saved by the Holy Spirit. Here's a pretty part of the cemetery here as well. Graveyard, excuse me, graveyard. It's with the church. Willingham. Cool stuff, guys. Really, some really pretty stones here. Very, very well memorialized of the folks who likely worshipped in the church and now rest in peace on the church grounds. Alice L.V. Allen, May 6, 1878, April 11th, 1962. Happy shalt thou be, and it shall be well with thee. I can't guarantee she's interred here, but there is a stone, and I will look up and find out who Miss Alice L.V. Allen was. And now here's interesting. Site of the childhood home of young J. Allen, Methodist missionary, whose labors in China 1859 to 1907 made him known as an international statesman in Christianity. This memorial was given by Mrs. Leish of Grantville, Georgia. It was originally placed on the Liberty Hill Road in a cornfield on the site of the long vanished home of the late Mr. and Mrs. Willie Hutchins, the uncle and aunt who reared young J. Allen. In order for the memorial to be more accessible to the public, Mrs. Leish later gave permission for it to be moved to the grounds of Allen Lee Memorial Church. So young J. Allen, the Methodist missionary, and this is his church where he came to God, and we'll look into all of his history. That's pretty cool stuff. Talk to you soon, guys. We're gonna go home and get this edited. I'll be adding in a bunch of history. That's some pretty cool stuff if you are a Methodist and you want to know a little bit about your heritage of the ministry. This will be a great video for you, and we'll speak soon. Bye, everybody. I forgot to show you guys, this church has one of these really neat little book boxes. Oh, interesting. It also has food in here. You can come get some groceries out of here if you need something. Stuffings and gravies. And they've got books. A free little library right here at the church.